Is it possible to eat healthy on a cruise ship? Are there even healthy choices available? And are some items smarter choices than others? Well, of course there are. And we'll talk about that and more this week on See More Seas. Are you on a healthy nutritional journey? Are you striving for better mind and body? Well, at some point we all do. And if you are on that journey now or have been for some time, you don't need to make any rash changes to that path just because you're going on a vacation or specifically a cruise vacation. You do not have to make those bad choices and veer off that path just because you have unlimited food available to you. If you're new here, hi, I'm Doug and this is See More Seas, a cruise tips and planning channel where I hope to help you and your family pick, plan, and enjoy your next cruise vacation. If you do find this video helpful in any way, please do give it that thumbs up and consider subscribing. It's absolutely free to you and it means the world to me. I've invited a guest to join us today who is a YouTuber with a great channel called the Seed Oil Oxalate Carb Addiction Teacher. You will recognize John because he is in most of the videos and pictures that you see here on my channel. When we go on cruises, we make healthier choices, and John's going to describe how he approaches these choices when we are planning and on a cruise vacation. So, without any further ado, let's introduce John. So, welcome John to the channel today. Thank you so much for coming. John LaSpina is the Carb Addiction Teacher. He has a YouTube channel. I will leave that link in the description below. So please check out his channel and always give a big old thumbs up as well as subscribe. So John, why don't you introduce yourself to the C team?
Hi, I'm John LaSpina. I am the Seed Oil Oxalate and Carb Addiction Teacher, or you can just call me the Carb Addiction Teacher. And yes, I do have a YouTube channel. And I basically talk about proper nutrition, and it's usually a ketogenic, ketovore, or a carnivore way of eating. And I get to talk about that in relation to going on a cruise, one of my favorite things to do.
Fantastic. So what I wanted to do today is just kind of like level set and talk about what we call in our house the standard American diet. So, John, can you give us just a brief explanation and definition of what the standard American diet is?
The standard American diet is processed food, mostly, and processed food is cereal, it's Pringles, it's Pop-Tarts, it's TV dinners, it's pizza, it's bread. It's anything in a box or a package, usually with a paragraph of ingredients. That's processed food. It's also Chick-fil-A and McDonald's and Burger King. That's the standard American diet.
And what particular with seed oils makes that standard American diet so highly processed and not good for you?
So processed foods have seed oils. They use seed oils for the boxes and the packages because they're part of that is it's a preservative, and seed oils are bad because the way they are made, by definition of their process, they have to extract the oil out of seeds using extremely high heat. They have to deodorize it and clean it using hexane, and the process of extracting it with extremely high heat, it denatures this oil, which means it oxidizes, it's lost its electrons. It is now rancid before it even goes into the bottles or before they even put it into the processed foods. Now, if you pick up a package in the store and just read it, you're going to find canola oil, soybean oil, safflower oil. You're going to find some of those seed oils, and that's part of the processed food. Most processed food, not all, but much of it has seed oils in it.
So I challenge you guys to go into your refrigerators and pull out your jar of mayonnaise and take a look at the ingredients, and I guarantee you the first or second ingredient is going to be canola oil. And you're also going to find this in all of your creamy salad dressings that you have in the door of your refrigerator.
Absolutely.
I was recently on a cruise where I skipped the buffet because I didn't think there was a lot of healthy choices there. And I do this normally, and we'll talk about how we eat on a cruise. But I went to the main dining room and I sat beside a wonderful couple that we were talking about the food on this particular cruise. And neither of us liked the buffet. And we started talking about all of these different types of things. And they had been on over 50 cruises. And we got on the subject of seed oils. And the gentleman said, you know, that's exactly the way I cook at home. And I use all of these very good oils like olive oil or avocado oil. And he feels fantastic after a meal. He goes, whenever I get on a cruise, about halfway through the week, he goes, I feel sick. He goes, I feel toxic. And he said, I never really put that together. And we had a really great conversation, and we all made pretty good choices for lunch that day. But John, why don't you now kind of explain to us what the proper human diet might look like?
Sure. I'm left out of the standard American diet. It's not just seed oils and processed food. They add a lot of carbohydrates and sugars. There's a lot of grains, which is wheat, corn, and rice, in canola oil. So there's a lot of that in the standard American diet. The old food pyramid has a lot of the pasta and the grains and the wheat at the bottom. The proper way to eat, the proper human diet, or the correct way of eating, is to have beef, lamb, and other ruminant animals like deer, pork, poultry, which is chicken, pheasant, turkey, duck, fish of all kinds, even the shrimp and the mollusks and the bivalves, and eggs. Beef, pork, poultry, fish, and eggs it's the way our ancestors had been eating for thousands and thousands of years, and there's no carbohydrates in that, or there's very little carbohydrates in that. Added on to that, if you want, you can have vegetables that are not root vegetables, like broccoli and asparagus, and you can have some string beans, some peppers, some tomatoes a little bit, and even a handful of berries in the fruit category a day. So that's a better way to eat ancestrally, for our body, what our body needs. If I can talk about what our body needs. Yeah. So our human body must have, to be healthy and prosper, we have to have protein, which is 9 of the 21 amino acids, and we get that from animal products. You can also get that from vegetables, but not as much from vegetables, because there's anti-nutrients in vegetables that locks out those nutrients. We also need fat in the form of omega-6 fatty acids and omega-3 fatty acids, and we get that in a healthy ratio from animal products. The standard American diet, with a lot of wheat, corn, rice, bread, sugar, seed oils, doesn't have those two essentials. It's just basically sugar. It turns into sugar in seed oils. So it's a different way of eating, but it is the way we've been eating for thousands of years, our ancestors.
So what you're hearing is that in our household, we are a very low carb household or no carb household. So John, tell us a little bit about what the dangers are of a high carbohydrate diet.
Do we want to talk about how we live together and we're married, so that our audience understands why I'm here and who I am a little bit more as well?
I guess we can.
Okay. So this is my husband, Doug. I'm John. We've been married for, is it 7 years now legally? 2015. We got married, but we've been together since 2008. And our house, yes, as of 4 years ago, approximately in January, 4 years ago, we went keto. we threw out all our bread and rice and corn and ketchup and barbecue sauce and salad dressings, and we went shopping around the edges of the grocery store, and we bought beef, pork, poultry, fish, and eggs and vegetables. Here we are 4 years later, and we are a lot healthier. I know I feel a lot better. We lost weight. We feel better. Our blood markers are better. So I could go on and on because that's my channel, but let's connect this to cruising now.
Right. So I mentioned before that I normally like to stay away from the buffet. Now the reason is, one, is because there's way too many choices and too many distractions, but there's also, you have little to no control on how that food is prepared. So many times what we will do is we will go to the main dining room for breakfast, let's start there, and have a conversation with our server. Sometimes a member of the kitchen staff will come out and John will explain to them that he has either a high sensitivity to seed oils, like nothing made with canola oil or sesame oil, and other times, depending on whether that is getting through to them or not, we may actually even say that he has an allergy to these products and in preparation of food in that way. So John, why don't you go a little bit into how you have that conversation with the server, or if the chef comes out, which they do sometimes.
Okay, so on the first meal, whether it's that lunch or the dinner, I tell them, they usually ask you, that's what's so great about these cruise ships, they want to accommodate you and help you and serve you because they want that excellent score that you give them in the evaluation at the end. And the server, sometimes it's an app that they check all the little boxes with my name so that every time I come in, it's ready to go for the rest of the week. Or they write it down on paper and I say, listen, I have a food sensitivity to all seed oils. And of course, they usually don't know what that is, so I have to educate them. A seed oil is, and I give them the list, it's canola, it's soy, it's peanut, it's corn, it's all the different seed oils. And then I tell them I also have a gluten sensitivity, so that of course rules out all wheat products. Now, I'm really good at looking at the menu and ordering foods that have no sugar and no wheat, but I have to tell them and educate them. I can't control, I don't know if they're putting seed oils in it. And I want to give the example of my escargot.
Oh, that's a perfect
Okay,
one. I was going to give that one too. Yeah.
One of the great appetizers we've seen on many of the cruise ships.
Love the Royal Caribbean escargot.
Right.
Oh
well, not just Royal Caribbean.
Celebrity as well.
Get the
everywhere.
escargot. I get the shrimp. I love to eat. I eat a lot still, but I love escargot. And I finally asked. I said, "What is the oil? Is it just butter and garlic in those little escargot containers?" And they said, "No, it's margarine and butter. Margarine is plant butter, which is seed oil." So I said, can you make it with just butter? And they did make it once with me with just butter. Another cruise ship said they couldn't do it.
Right.
So it's that conversation back and forth. Really, if you have any allergy, if you're a person who knows about allergies, if you have a peanut allergy or a dairy allergy, you know about these conversations that you have back and forth. I just do it with seed oils. And I'll tell them I don't, they'll always bring the big basket of bread.
Right.
The delicious looking bread.
So take that away.
And I out of sight, out of mind, and I have no issue with partaking in the breads.
But let's get back to breakfast. So one of the things for breakfast is that if you go to the buffet, there's about 20 different kinds of fried potatoes. There's all of the different scrambled eggs. Some of the things that you might want to consider for breakfast, and you can do this in the main dining room as well. They're going to be able to prepare those eggs not using those seed oils, but maybe with butter or maybe just on the griddle, or make a fresh omelet with real eggs and butter and real cheeses. And then the bacon and the sausage normally are pretty good choices to make. Even the poached eggs that you have with an Eggs Benedict is you can have that entire Eggs Benedict with the hollandaise sauce. Just confirm that they're making that with real butter. and not one of the processed oils, which they probably should be. And it's not coming out of a jar. They're making it fresh. Most cruise lines do. And just don't have the English muffin. You can replace the Canadian bacon with crab, with spinach. But all of those are excellent choices, and you can have an absolutely fantastic breakfast, and you have control over how they're preparing it because you're speaking to that server, and they're going and talking directly to the chef. And so the control of how your food is prepared, as well as not having all of those different pastries to tempt you, it's a better choice to go to the main dining room. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, it is. And however, if you go, are we talking about the buffet at this point?
We're going to move on to the buffet for lunch.
Okay, so but back to the breakfast, when you're ordering the breakfast and dinner, everything, they are willing to accommodate you so much because of potential liability. Okay, many clients, customers come in with serious allergies where their throat, they will have anaphylaxis. They will need the EpiPen. They don't want to be liable for that. So as soon as you say the phrase sensitivity or allergy, they will bend over backwards to accommodate you.
We normally have our travel advisor put this in our profile at the time of booking the cruise, but that doesn't always transcend to the actual dining room. So make sure that even though you've told your travel advisor or the cruise line that you have these sensitivities, make sure you have the conversation while you're at the table.
And one more thing I do is I printed out, I can run and get it if you want.
Oh, no.
I printed out a card. I went into PowerPoint and I made a list as general and as short as I could make it of the seed oils and the fact that I don't have any kind of grains or sugars or carbs. And I printed out a whole bunch of them and cut them up and I put them in my luggage. And then when I go to dinner, like usually just the first night, I give it to the server as I'm having the discussion. They take a picture of it or they walk back with it, and it helps. It's a lot better to have. It spells it out on paper for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So for lunch on a cruise, if it's a sea day and we're on the ship, we will normally go to the buffet and look for healthy choices there. We will go to the main dining room from time to time, but if you're at lunch on the buffet, there's still a lot of really great choices that you can make. And where John heads to first is where, John?
The carving station. I do. Every single cruise ship has a carving station with prime rib or ham or something. I like that the best. Sometimes they'll have turkey, but when they have, a lot of times it's the prime rib, and you go right up there, and they carve a fresh piece with the fat on it. You put your plate, you grab your dollop of horseradish sauce, and that's the bulk of my plate. I'm getting my meat.
Absolutely, and the meat and cheese area as well is another great option. There's a lot of prosciutto, salamis, great hard cheeses or blue cheeses or gorgonzola, parm. A lot of those type items are fantastic. They're zero carb, no carb, very good healthy fats. You also have the salad bar area where I know you're on a cruise, you don't want to have a salad bar, but think about the salad bar, all the different types of lettuces that you can choose from, and then you've got the hard-boiled eggs that you can put on it. You've got the bacon, you've got all of the other vegetables, and there's so many different choices, as well as the Parmesan cheese shavings and all of the different things that you can get on the cruise within the salad bar. Now, one thing that I was going to say about that is just stay away from the creamy dressings. Yeah. Just like I said before, when you go to your refrigerator and you pick up that Kraft dressing that you have in the side of your door, it's going to have the first ingredient probably being some very low quality processed oil. So what we do is make sure that you find the area where the good bottle of olive oil is located. It's normally in a dark bottle. And then you look for the red wine vinegar, and you have the vinegar and oil, salt and pepper it. That's good. If you can't find the red wine vinegar, you can use balsamic vinegar. Balsamic does have a little bit higher sugar content than red wine vinegar. Red wine vinegar has 0. So just make some good choices there, and you can have a really wonderful lunch at the buffet. Would you agree?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I fill my plate with. I've got the sliced prime rib from the carving station. Sometimes I'll just go to the prosciutto and I get the meats and I get the cheeses, and my plate is probably just as full as it would be when I eat the standard American diet, only it's healthy. If I do the salads, it's the oil and the vinegar.
So let's move on to dinner. Now dinners are 3 or 4 course meals normally. Again, we go to the main dining room for dinner, and we also do specialty dining. Now, even in the main dining room, if you tell the maitre d' on the very first day that you have this food sensitivity or you have an allergy, I always recommend when you go on the first day is to go to the main dining room, find out where your dining room table location is going to be, and if for whatever reason there's some sort of mix-up, the maitre d' is going to be there and you can make some changes or confirm your actual dining reservation times that you've done pre-cruise on the cruise planner. But you can also have a conversation with the maitre d' and go over the menus. So John will take a look at the menus, and if it's, if there's some sort of prime rib, but it's got this really thick gravy that comes with it, they'll have that conversation, and the actual chef or assistant chef will come out, sit down, and go over the menu each night of the cruise. So like on the first night, we have that conversation and they go back to the kitchen saying, okay, you can have this, 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 and this. But normally what you can do is that for days 2 through 7, you can have that conversation the night before, right after you've finished your cheese plate for dessert and not the chocolate cake. The chef will come out, 3 to 5 minute conversation, and you can have that conversation.
With the specialty restaurants and the regular standard seating, they will come out with the next day's menu, which nobody else sees. And I pick everything I want ahead of time and hand it back to them. And then when we go to dinner that night, we both get the menus and he'll order, but I already pre-ordered and mine comes out. And the reason we do that, and we know because we took the kitchen tour in the back as one of the behind the scenes tours, and they usually, everything on the menu is prepared and they have 50 of them with the sauce on it or whatever's on it, the seed oils or whatever. So when you're in the dining room and you're ordering, they don't just make it to order, they just grab one of the 50 that has just been made. That's why they know ahead of time to prep my food. John and Doug have come in the dining room. There's a special kind of food made for me without the sauce or the seed oil or the carbohydrates and the sugar. That's the reason that we plan ahead of time. So in the specialty dining room, they bend over backwards for you as well. And don't be shy. All right, they are there to serve you. They are there to bend over backwards for you. They want that 10 rating. It helps them get their raises and their pay and give them good scores. They will do it. And some people are shy. They're like, oh, I don't want to say it. I don't want to bother them. No, you're paying all that money to go on a cruise. You can enjoy that cruise.
So the title of John's channel has in it the Carb Addiction Teacher. And John is a self-professed sugar addict. And when we were on cruises in the very beginning, our first 5 or 6, we would have dinner, have dessert, and then go up to the buffet to have some more dessert.
And more.
So we were guilty as everybody else, but then as we made better choices and started feeling so much better, and a lot of health issues went away, we started making these better choices. And one of the tricks in the main dining room, even in the specialty restaurants as well, is that if you've got 4 choices for dessert and it's chocolate cake, creme brulee, and 2 other highly sugar or even sugar-free choices, you can always ask for a cheese plate. They always have it available. They'll make you one. It's going to come out with the hard cheeses, the very pungent cheeses, and it's a very, very good substitute for dessert. And we do that often. So one of the other areas on a cruise is most of the cruise lines now are throwing in all of these like all-included or getting up to like being an all-inclusive type experience, and they're always throwing in the drink package. So how does alcohol get incorporated in making these choices? And I'm not sitting here lecturing you not to have some cocktails on your cruise or not to get the drink package. If you choose not to, that's fantastic. You're going to have a wonderful time no matter what. But if you do and you choose to have some wine or have some cocktails, there are some smarter choices to have. Now, if you want to have wine with dinner, have 1 or 2 glasses of red wine. Red wine normally has about 3.5 to 4 grams of carbohydrates per 5-ounce serving. So have a couple glasses of wine, that's fine. If you're going to go with cocktails, you need to stick with the clear liquors like vodka or gin or light rums, not the flavored rums like Myers or Captain Morgan's. That has a bunch of added sugar. Right. But stay with those, obviously in moderation, and be aware not to mix those alcohols. You've made the great decision by choosing the vodka, but don't put that into a fruit juice. That's a bunch of sugar. Don't put that into a full sugar soda. Do not mix it with anything that comes out of a machine.
Can't get my strawberry daiquiri or my pina colada or what's it called? What did I used to get all the time that was frozen?
Mudslide.
Mudslide. I used to drink those. Okay, so a little bit more about alcohol from the ketovore carnivore perspective. Alcohol is a poison to the liver. And that's why we don't drink a lot of alcohol. And the alcohol that has 0 or almost no carbs, as Doug mentioned, are the clear liquors like vodka and gin and some of the rums. And you can drink alcohol in moderation, but we also know that when we drink, our livers have to prioritize that toxin and process that toxin, and it slows fat burning down.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some of the things to avoid on a cruise ship. So one of the things that I put down on the list, and this is going to probably upset some people and I'm going to get some comments, I'm sure, about this whole video, but this in particular is very popular on a cruise. It's 2 areas. One, I mentioned before, is the pizza. Easy to grab and go. The other is going to be those items beside the pool, which is the burger joint with the French fries. And that is probably some of the most processed foods that you're going to find on a cruise, is that the buns are not going to be very high quality. The burgers are going to be okay. We make a joke when we go out to dinner. If there's something that we can't find on the menu, there's always a hamburger.
Always hamburger.
That you can get without the bun and get some good cheese with it.
Right.
But do not partake in the fries. The fries normally are fried in very processed peanut oil. Another area that you'll see on a cruise is the soft serve ice cream.
I was going to say, you're going to mention the ice cream? That's
exactly, right. The ice cream machine. And you'll see this everywhere. I just saw something on Twitter the other day. Is it a cruise without hitting the soft serve machine every day? And for me, sure. I'm not big into the sweets and desserts, so that doesn't even interest me. But for someone who loves the sugar, that would be something would be a very dangerous choice. So just stay away from the soft serve, the gelato. I know it's vacation. If you're partaking, please do it in moderation and make sure that you're not stalling any of the good progress that you had made before the cruise.
I want to talk about sugar-free desserts.
Yes.
Okay, they offer on all cruise ships, next to all the decadent desserts, the sugar-free options. And they're not going to tell you what the sugar substitute is unless you ask them. And if you ask them, it's going to be sucralose or Splenda, which kills off good gut bacteria. It is a chemical, and it's also not good for the brain. They're not going to use stevia, usually, or monk fruit, or erythritol, which are zero glycemic sugars that are healthy on a ketogenic way of eating. They're going to use the kind of sugar that's in the Diet Coke.
Right.
And that's not good. So I don't even eat the desserts without the sugar. They would often say, when I would say no, 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 they're like, oh, it's sugar-free, and I say no, and then they look at me still.
Well, and also they're sugar-free, and then they love to have this other category called no sugar added, which means it already has sugar in it. They're just not adding an additional sugar. So it makes it sound a little bit better, but that's still something that you really do need to avoid, and that's not a good choice to make.
Right.
So, you know, we want you guys to have an absolutely fantastic vacation. The food on a cruise is a big reason why people cruise, and it's a big attraction. However, there are some really, really great choices. Unless you go out to dinner every night, it's not every day that you can get prime rib, or you can get a filet mignon, or a lobster, or all the shrimp cocktail, the oysters, the beautiful cheeses. I don't know what your refrigerator's stocked with, but we can't we can't afford all of that.
Right.
So there are some absolutely fantastic choices that you can make, and you can be healthy and not feel like you're being toxic and sick, like that gentleman that I talked to at lunch in the main dining room that one day. So don't put yourself in that situation. Don't make yourself a glutton and be overly full and miserable. Enjoy your cruise. Enjoy the amazing food that's on board. And don't be shy about asking for things, or don't be shy if something is not to your liking. Make sure that you get a replacement for that and make that a good choice. Anything to add?
Anything to add? All right, so let's talk about food when you're off the ship. You may sometimes go to a restaurant in Mexico or one of the wonderful islands where you're stopping. I follow the same procedure, and I speak to the server and say, listen, I have this allergy, or I have this sensitivity. Sometimes it's harder because they don't speak English well, or they don't. You have to be careful. You're not in control of what you put in your body as much when you're in restaurants. So I am very careful with what I put in my body. My body's very sensitive to all these things. And I do eat well on a cruise. So
yeah, and one of the things for being in a port and going to lunch or something, one of the things that we always try to do is make sure that we're ordering fresh ingredients and single food ingredients like shrimp, like oysters, that type of thing, and making sure that they are not mixed with a lot of other things, because you don't have that control. So fresh local ingredients, you can't go wrong in any of the ports that you visit. Please enjoy your cruise vacation. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please do give it that thumbs up. Visit John's channel. Again, I will be leaving that link in the description below. Subscribe to us both. We really appreciate you guys being here. And I want to thank John for joining me today. This is a little bit longer of a video than we normally do, but I think it's packed full of information, and you got two of us instead of just me. So again, thanks for showing up, and as always, I'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me on.